direction. What if somebody tries to mug you? What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh.
10 o'clock.
What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jack booty cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag 'em through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Welcome to Primer Time. My name is Michael.
Hey, and I'm Dan. How you doing, Michael?
Dan, it's good to hear you, man.
Yeah, and we also have Hal with us. How you doing, Hal?
I'm doing just fine.
How great to have you here.
Thank you.
Michael,
We had a little bit. We had some time intervention here. How's everybody's weeks been? It's been 2 weeks since we did a show. Sorry.
Mine's been fine. I've been busy working on that little project I got going on, so everything's cool.
Oh, I want to talk about
You got
that
a
for a
chance to
minute.
shoot?
You're building a Duster, Hal? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. 76 Duster.
76 Duster.
Ooh.
1976 Duster with a 440 big block and a 9-inch Ford rear end and automatic.
440 big block. So we don't have to talk firearms all the time. We can talk a little car talk here. I think it's appropriate. A 440 is it a Hemi engine in that thing? Or?
It's a 440 wedge. It's going to standard bore 440, and it's going to set up for drag racing. It's got a drag racing suspension on it. It's got the back wheel wells are a lot bigger. They're 15 inches across, and the 9-inch Ford's been narrowed. And they take a set of 10 by 15 wheels. I'll go right in the middle of the car. Subframe connectors in it. It's a nice looking car. We've been working on it for almost 2 years now. We got about another year to go. But I'm to the part where we're putting the interior in it now.
What's your total cost on that
Wow.
vehicle?
Oh, God. I don't know. There's going to be some money put into it. We haven't got the engine built yet, but we probably got $10,000 in it already, and I've done all the work on it. That's $10,000 for stuff to buy for the car.
Well, usually is the labor is 3 times the cost of the part.
Yep. And
You got a chunk of money right there. That's a labor of love. It sounds like.
I probably got 1,000 hours or more in it.
Wow,
I'll trade you.
1,000 hours.
I'll trade you straight across for my 1987 Dodge Omni.
Oh, what a deal!
Hey, those Omnis are good cars now. Don't knock on those Omnis. You're driving for 300,000 miles. Never change the oil.
Well, what have you guys heard this week to get us into primer time? I'll sit here and talk drag racing all night long. We can't do that.
I want to talk about Michael. Michael had a gun show this weekend that he went to. I want to talk about the gun show first. Michael, tell us about the gun show. Big show?
I would say there were 600 tables.
Wow, big show. Okay.
Yeah. This is a fairly large company that puts on the show. But unfortunately, they're starting to put on one show a month at this venue, and it's It's an old carpet giant warehouse, so it's quite a large building. And
one show a month.
They put on right, and I believe that the area that we did it in it's saturated now.
Has to be.
So my view of the show may differ from other people's, but it appears in that city that the market is kind of played out. So it's kind of interesting. But there were quite a few people there, both days, Saturday and Sunday, considering that, it was the day before Cinco de Mayo, and it is in Texas. And, there was also a basketball game going on, the San Antonio Spurs versus the Dallas Mavericks. So that started during the show, and I figured that when that game started at about, I think it was 2:00, I'd figured at about 1:30 the place would be a ghost town, and it'd be me and a bunch of fat old men with 1865 cowboy hats and electric scooters. And overpriced 22.
How were sales?
I sold a few for my personal collection, and I did fairly well. My customer base at this show, was people looking, I think, more for something to complement things they already had. I didn't have any first time buyers. I have a few interesting items that, are not the usual everyday thing. So people do have a tendency to take a look at some of those and ask questions. And, well, Dan, I think like all of us, if you have something and you like it, you become fairly knowledgeable about it and you want to know that thing inside and out. So the things that I have that I may be selling off, I know a fair amount about. So people ask questions and I can answer them.
So, yeah, such as the high powers.
High powers.
High powers, correct?
Right. I like high powers quite a bit. I like several different types of revolvers. I happen to like Ruger 1022s quite a bit.
And you made a good sale on a 1022, as I understand.
I did, and this could be a lesson to people in the future. I'm not going to say that it's a buyer's and a seller's market. For people who may not have been to a gun show, do your homework. It would be like any other sort of open air market, so to speak. I had priced a Ruger 1022, which is a very, very common but quality 22 caliber rifle at $350. That is a significant amount more than a new one costs. Would you not agree?
Yeah, much too much.
That would be double what a new one costs.
Close to it, yes. $200,
right.
Around $200 for a new one, I believe, something like that.
Right. So, a guy who he didn't have any sort of identifying features that would make me concerned about his mental status or well-being. He picked it up and walked over to me and showed me his ID and gave me the $350.
Oh, you can't be a buyer like that. Cash front like that. No,
right. I mean,
questions asked.
It's very nice. It's very nice for the guy selling, but if you're the buyer, he didn't take a few moments to ask some very important questions. And more importantly, before the show, he didn't do a couple minutes of research. I mean, everybody's got a cell phone that can, 4G and, you can pull down, cats on YouTube in a heartbeat, but take a few minutes and go on a retailer site. Now, I did not push this on this man. This guy walked right by my table. It happened to catch his eye, and he picked it up and walked over and gave me the cash and showed me ID and let me copy down his name and driver's license number. And his picture looked like him.
Didn't even try to Jew you down any or anything, huh?
Not a bit, Dan. Not a bit. No.
Wow. That's not like a Tennessee gun show. I can tell you that. There's always
no, and he didn't have anything that would make me think that he would appear outwardly to be a prohibited buyer or anything like that. I just think he just was a guy who didn't happen to do his homework and knew he needed something.
Yeah, you can read people. basically know about him.
Well, he did.
He could have been out of state, possibly something like that. But other than that,
he had a Texas driver's license.
Oh, so you did take down his driver's license?
I did take down his driver's license number and name and actually I wrote the serial number to the rifle down. So.
Man, our deals in Tennessee are out of the trunk, basically. Here, you want it, you got it. Cash.
I don't do that necessarily with every sale, but at a show I will.
Oh yeah, inside with the table set up, I agree with you.
Absolutely. But I would say that definitely the AR-15 market is played out.
You can build an AR-15 for under $500 that shoots like a dream.
That's right. And if you've got an AR-15 right now and it's not top tier, if you've got an AR-15 that you built yourself and you sourced out the cheapest parts kit from any place you can, I'm sorry, you do not have a $1,300 rifle, especially if you put
a laser and flashlight on it. Doesn't that make it a $1,300 rifle then?
I'm sorry. Do you have a pressure switch? Because you know that
adds. What's the pressure switch for the laser?
You have to add in the labor for installing the pressure switch and then the cost of it. So that's another $175. I mean,
is the laser green or red?
Dan, let's try and keep this in the realm of reality here. I mean, this is a bad economy.
Oh, crap.
All right, so customized for one person doesn't mean excessive cost on another person. So I don't want your magazine that has Hello Kitty hydrographic onto the side of it.
It costs an extra $75 to do that, though, Michael. I've got to recoup part of that money.
It costed him $17.25 for that SKS jammed into that really fancy stock too. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Wow.
So currently, the price for a good, functional, decent quality from a reputable manufacturer AR-15 appears to be about $650 at the high end, brand new. There are higher end, of course, and there are lower end, of course, but the median price seems to be about $650 for an AR-15. A used third generation Glock is not $650. That is only for $529.
That's on the high end there, Michael.
I'm sorry, the fourth generation brand new is going for $529.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds about right.
How
about it in Florida? What are prices like down in Florida, Al?
Well, it depends on where you go to get it. If you go to the local gun shops, some of the prices are pretty high. They got deals in there on some of the stuff, and they've got used guns that you could buy too.
When was the last time you were at a show in your area?
Yeah, the shows is what we were interested in.
Oh, about 6 months ago. But they only have a show in my area 2 or 3 times a year. And then they have shows in different, like in Plant City they got one, and then in Bradenton they've got one. They've got them at different locations.
Okay, let me ask you a question as a guy who has a table every once in a while. What is your maximum distance that you'll drive to a show? Considering that you have to pay $10 or, between $8 and $10, which by the way, the price of the show that I went to, the admission fee has gone up and now they have parking.
We've had parking and they do ours at the state fairgrounds. And we have it's $5 parking, and it's usually $8 or $10 to get in the door.
You have to pay to park too. Oh,
well, this one was had parking this time, and they actually had quite a few police officers in the parking lot.
Okay, Michael, let me ask you this: out of the 600 tables, how many of them had firearms on them versus non-firearm items?
I would say at this show, I would say. If I was going to, on a percentage basis, I would say 80% of the tables had firearms or firearms items. If it was pure firearms or they had some firearms and some extra items, I would say it was closer to 70%.
How much was there any reload material there? Any reload supplies?
There were, and the prices were still quite expensive, outrageous, and that also goes into the ammunition We'll get into the 22 long rifle roundup in a moment, but just on the people who were selling crap that was not a firearm or self-defense or military surplus or militaria items or certain, this is Texas cowboy stuff, but people selling things like the glowing lava rock candle with, special scent, or the wolf on the t-shirt that's howling at the moon, or
the beef jerky guy there was the beef.
Oh, absolutely. There was 2 beef jerky guys and the lady with the stinky nuts.
The stinky nuts were there too, huh?
Yo, man, I'm so glad I did not
treated.
I am so glad I don't have a table next to that lady. I mean, honest to God, she's a very, very beautiful woman, but I can't stand the smell of cinnamon.
The one that, Michael, the table that used to really annoy me was the guy that had those tasers, that make the clicking sound. And they
I hate that guy.
And, they're constantly pushing that button with that noise.
He works the shows I go to as well. Something new I've noticed at the shows we've gone to are the people with the little electric helicopters, the toy helicopters. We also have a lot of toy vendors, it seems, but that's okay because a lot of people bring their kids, and you got to have something for the kids because while it might be neat, they may not appreciate the beauty of a Ruger P89 for $295. They just may not see the value in that. So there's got to be a little bit of toy around for them. So, I mean, I understand that, but because it's usually like toy swords and toy machine guns, the kinds that light up and spark inside the magazine, made in China stuff. But the non-gun stuff was very limited. I think the guy who runs this show, he's a good dude. I think he's really trying to cut down because a lot of the other shows I've gone to are, what do we call it? It's the flea market.
I know, it's getting disgusting. It really is. And to think you have to pay for parking plus $10 to get in to look at half of the stuff that's Chinese junk.
As a customer going to a gun show, I don't want to go to a gun show and see a bunch of different innovative thermoses, that have beautiful like flower designs on them. That's not tactical. Okay,
I want to know about the ammo now. Tell me about the ammo at the gun show. What kind of prices were you looking at?
For centerfire ammo, prices still seem to be about time and a half. Did not see a lot of bulk 9mm. Did see a lot of individual boxes of 50 or 20, or 25, depending on if it was, just the higher end self-defense or like stuff like Winchester White Box or something. Didn't see any like cases of 900 from like Russia or anything like that. The 5.45 Russian ammo was going for $400 a case, which is highway robbery.
A case, you mean a spam can?
A spam can. Yes, a spam cannon. I believe that's
a little over 1,000 rounds, 1,020 rounds or something.
1,040, something like that.
Yeah, 1,040, something like that. It's pretty close. For how much? 400, did you say?
400 to 420, 450.
So that stuff's gone from 12 cents a round to 40 cents a round, essentially.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's whatever the traffic will bear.
I'll tell you, it didn't look like there was a whole lot of people walking around with it. So, once again, there was the whole roster of people bringing in weapons to sell. There was a lot of hunting rifles, a lot of kind of obsolete rifles. Of course, there was the entire march of guys with every sort of tricked out AR-15 that, they were asking $1,400 for.
Any nice pistols? Any nice Colts?
There were some Colts, and everybody now knows the value of a pony.
Do they?
That's right, because you can, at a gun show in Texas, you can feel free to ask $2,300 for a used trooper.
A shot up trooper, and people actually consider it?
They'll the guy over and ask him and see if he'll go down to 21.
Yeah. Oh, that's pitiful.
Are you talking about a 357 wheel gun?
Absolutely.
Yes.
As issued to the Ohio State PD or somebody like that back in 1978. Yeah.
And they're asking $2,some $100.
$2,300, $2,350 if you look at them nice and show them naked pictures of your sister. They'll probably raise the price for you.
So what's a python? What are they asking for a python new in the box around there? Do you know?
There was actually a guy there who had a really, really nice, bright, shiny, chrome one with, fairly nice grips. I'm thinking they were new. He had a box and everything. He was asking 35.
35. Incredible.
Yeah.
So, Michael, if I had the money, I would be buying every python new in the box that I could run across right now because
I'm thinking, so I'll tell you what, a Colt python appears to, appreciate faster than an ounce of gold at this time.
well, it's not even close. Not even close. Those things they're like doubling in price seems like every 6 months. I mean, hearing the price is double on those things. Especially, and it's only the new in the box ones, of course.
I don't know. Well, the new in the box ones are the ones that may actually deserve that raise in price. But I'll tell you what, anybody who's got anything with a pony on it is asking 3 times, 4 times what I would pay for it. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it.
I've got that World War II 1911. I wonder what those things are going for now. This one's government stamped too, so
What's the finish on it like?
Excellent.
Why don't you sell that and move to Aruba?
Oh, really? They're up that high now?
I would say you'd probably get a good $2,900 from the right guy at the right show in Texas.
Wow.
Colts are a wanted item. Another wanted item are the SIG 938s. I know we got some fans of that out there. I know, Upper Hubby are kind of fans of those. And,
me too. Me too. It's a fantastic
you
one.
like them. I saw those going for $859, at some tables.
$859 when you could get them online for $550?
Well, now this was at a private sale table, and I did see it at a dealer's table for $749.
There you go. The dealer's table and the private table.
Right.
The people are willing to pay more at the private table because they can buy it and walk out the door with it. There ain't no paperwork. There ain't nothing. So
if you ever fill out one of them, that's enough, though. I mean, they've got you basically if you've ever filled one out before.
If you've ever, listen, tell you what, if you've ever been to a gun show, they probably know already who you are. If you've ever been to a gun shop, they probably know.
Facial recognition everywhere.
And they have pictures. They've, if you've ever paid for ammunition with a credit card, they know who you are. So whatever.
Hey,
so
Michael,
they know who you are.
They have facial recognition on the sidewalks when you're walking down Ybor City.
Well, maybe if you walk down and Howell Thompson, we have a special on 22 long rifle right here.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you what, that comes right up, and maybe they'll direct you to the sales that we saw at this last show on 22 long rifle. All right. The reason why I asked you how far you drive is because the show I went to that I worked at was a 3-hour drive for me.
Oh yeah,
so,
we wouldn't drive that far.
How far would you drive to a show?
I would drive for the area that I live in. I would say 50 or 60 miles, about as far as I go. That if they had one in Ocala, I might go to that, and that's 100.
Okay.
And you're in Tampa, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. So I went from my area. It's about 220 miles.
Yeah.
Is what I did. But I had to pass through a small town that had one of the kinds that used to be associated with True Value, but is now just, Bob's Feed Store.
Yeah.
Well, they had one of those flashing marquees outside with the arrow pointing to it, and in the plastic letters it said 22 long rifle available here. Stop the truck, we're pulling over. So as we skid to like a bootlegger, Dukes of Hazzard turn to get into this parking lot, almost run over 2 old ladies like buying the Easter baskets and stuff at half price. All right, so we pull in, and I'll be back. Keep the car running. Give me your credit card. And I walk in there, and sure enough, they were well stocked. They had a bunch of ammo. And I said, "You have 22 long rifle ammo?" Absolutely. Here it is. They had CCI Stinger. They had Winchester White Box, individual boxes. They had Remington Thunderbolt. They had a couple.
I hate that ammo, by the way.
I don't like
Nasty
Thunderbolt.
ammo.
I don't like Thunderbolt. I don't like CCI Blazer, and I'm starting to not like Golden Bullet. But whatever.
Good practice blinking ammo is all it is.
They had some stuff in a red box. I think it might have been Winchester, but it appeared to be fairly older. And then they also had a couple 550 bulk bricks of Federal with the red tinge to the box, not the blue tinge to the box. As I understand it, the red is slightly higher quality than the blue. I don't really know. It's Federal and it's lead tipped, and I don't want it.
That's actually, I believe that Federal High Velocity, is that what you're talking about?
I think that's high velocity.
Yeah, I think the blue box is actually a better quality.
Yeah, I'm not too hot with the red stuff.
How much were they?
Oh, that's the magic question.
Yes.
All right, you get one. All right, I'll just say it. I hope everybody's sitting down out there in Radio Land. $130.99 for a box of 550.
How much?
I am not joking. $130.99 for a box of 550 in Nixon, Texas.
So approximately 26 cents a round or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Or
just
22, just bulk 22 ammo.
bulk 22 ammo.
I hope no one was buying it.
I know they were well stocked, as I said.
Good.
Like it had just come in. Now, we'll just counter that with today. I made a trip up to the big city and I picked up unfortunately only one, but a 333 box of Winchester plated ammo. It's 1260 foot per second. Looks to be good. It's a bulk box at 333. I paid $14.
Yeah, I've shot that ammo before.
And it works.
Ammo.
It works in semi-automatic pistols. It works in rifles, and that's an acceptable price to me. And they had quite a bit, but they were limiting you to one box at a time.
So you walk out the door and walk back in, or one box a day, or what? How do they do that?
One box a day, and they only have two people working behind the counter, so they recognize who's who. They know, and they're young guys, so I do believe that they scope out the old men.
Interesting.
At the show, that was on the way to the show. At the show, the big ammo ripoff was the Golden Bullet bucket of 1,440 rounds. They were asking $219 for that. Now that normally retails for $60.
Remember we were talking how ridiculous it was at 10 cents a round not too long ago, and I said, "Hell, if you can find it for 10 cents a round, buy it now." And
right. Well, I've always maintained it's going to come back. All right, because there's a lot of speculation in this, and I have a feeling. Look, there was plenty of. I would say that they had at least 3 cases of the 333 today behind the counter, because no way you can put that out in public, because it would be like, it would be like, I don't know, free stuff in Israel. Just if you put out, it'd be just a mad rush.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, people would buy up as much as they could carry.
Well, I guess all this makes a perfect reason for the Pentagon to destroy $1.2 billion in surplus ammunition.
I was going to lead right into that, Hal. Tell us about that story.
Being there's so much ammunition out there, we might as well just throw this shit away because nobody wants it. Yeah, the government's going to get
incredible.
Yep. Pentagon to destroy $1.2 billion in surplus ammunition. They used to sell that military surplus to people. The new Government Accountability Office found that the Pentagon is planning to destroy an estimated $1.2 billion worth of ammunition. According to the report, the stockpile slated to be destroyed is part of a $70 billion worth of ammunition budgeted by the Department of Defense. So they're not just going to get rid of the small arms ammo. They say that they're going to be getting rid of get a load of this. They say they're going to be getting rid of Stinger missiles, Javelins, and Hellfire missiles, too. They're going to disassemble those. They're going to take those apart and just shred them so they can buy new ones, because these are old.
But they
I think that's admirable to take all those weapons that we paid a lot of money for and shred them.
Aren't you proud to be an American?
And I think they should send all that shredded material to China so we can get cheaper iPods.
Well, they will. Don't worry about that. You know
Well,
they
why
will.
don't they just send the ammo over to Ukraine or something like that?
Well,
That's crazy talk. That would never happen.
That would be novel, wouldn't it?
well, there was another thing. There was I've read several stories on this, and one of them, 2 or 3 of the people, and these were government people, said that the reason they were going to destroy it is because they didn't want it to get on the street in this country to be used against military or law enforcement. Now, what does that have to say?
You know, I was just reading a story about Sherwood Forest, and a new edict was mentioned where you shall not poach the king's deer.
Well, they don't want you to poach the king's protectors either.
I think that's exactly what I mean.
I tell you what that's saying, Hal. It ties right in with that other story you were telling me about 2/3 of Americans. You know, they view the government as a threat.
That's exactly right.
And an
of Americans,
affront to people's liberties.
I'll tell you, the 2/3 of the people say that they don't trust. Poll: most Americans view feds as a threat to liberty. 2/3 of the American people view the feds as a threat to their liberty. So, you know, we hear all this information that they're giving us, but when you start digging into it and looking at it, what they're telling us and what's actually the truth is two entirely different things, just like it's always been.
Well,
what gets me is how can 1/3 of the people not see that?
Well, but maybe it's just the flyover state propaganda. You know?
Well, it is.
Because this information obviously appeals to the West Coast and to the northeastern corridor, where traditionally gun ownership is now limited because, well, it's in the Taste Great Less Filling American politic debate. These are traditionally Democratic areas, or recently Democratic areas, or predominantly Democratic areas. But you've got the other story that shows us that in these predominantly Democratic areas, what does that do with the crime rate?
Oh, I've got some information here that's just stellar. If you go to gun crimes committed by countries like ours, you know, supposedly civilized countries or countries period, you can take we're way up at the top of the list.
What? Gun crimes per capita?
Gun crimes per capita. But listen to this. If you take out Chicago, Washington, D.C., Detroit, and New Orleans, we drop all the way down to the bottom of the list. We're like two or three up from the bottom. We're way down. We go from way at the top, way to the bottom, with just those 4 cities taken out of the equation.
And those are predominantly black gang cities, correct?
Well, they're Democratic cities, and they're all they hate guns, maximum amount of gun control that they can get. They don't want nobody to have a weapon. And if you take those 4 out and we drop down to the bottom, what does that tell you?
Those are guns.
We got the Democrats screaming that they don't want us. That guns are bad. They're all behind this guns are bad. You know, there's too many guns in the hands of people. Well, what it really boils down to is there's too many guns in the hands of the damn Democrats. I've got a thing I'm going to read here. I'm not going to read them all off, but there's a whole list of them, but this will give you an idea of what's going on. And
go ahead. I think they're all appropriate, Hal. I mean, it's amazing.
And for how long this has been going on. This starts gun control that makes sense. Great idea. Why didn't I think of this? In 1865, a Democratic shot and killed Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States. In 1881, a left-wing radical Democrat shot James Garfield, President of the United States, who later died. In 1963, a radical left-wing socialist shot and killed John F. Kennedy, President of the United States. In 1975, a left-wing radical Democrat fired shots at Gerald Ford, President of the United States. In 1983, a registered Democrat shot and wounded Ronald Reagan, President of the United States. In 1984, James Hubert, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 22 people in a McDonald's restaurant. In 1986, Patrick Sherrill, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 15 people in Oklahoma City post office. In 1990, James Poe, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 10 people at a GMAC office. In 1991, George Harvard, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 23 people at a Luby's cafeteria. In 1995, James Daniel Simpson, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 5 co-workers at Texas laboratory. In 1999, Larry Ashbrook, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 8 people at a church service. In 2001, a left-wing radical Democrat shot at the White House in a failed attempt to kill George Bush. In 2003, Douglas Williams, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 7 people at a Lockheed Martin plant. 2007, a registered Democrat named Sung Hu Cho or something like that, shot and killed 32 people at Virginia Tech. In 2010, a mentally ill registered Democrat named Jared Loeffner shot Gabrielle Giffords and killed 6 others. In 2011, a registered Democrat named James Holm went into a movie theater and shot and killed 12 people. In 2012, Andrew Engeldinger, a disgruntled Democrat, shot and killed 7 people in Minneapolis. In 2013, a registered Democrat named Adam Lanza shot and killed 26 people in a school. As recently as September 2013, an angry Democrat shot 12 at a Navy shipyard. You could go on with this list forever. What does this tell us? Sounds to me like the Democrats are the ones that need to be disarmed, not us.
Sounds like Democrats are Bolsheviks.
Think about that list.
So these are all provable. They were proven Democrats or whatever.
Yes. The ones that are screaming that they need to take our guns.
Interesting.
Well, they're right. They need to take the guns from them.
Well, they have to take the guns to the plan, or the plan doesn't work.
It has to be a gun-free zone everywhere to make it work.
Yeah, well, they can put that sign on their door. I ain't gonna put it up.
I've never seen one of those firearms not allowed signs. I've never ever seen one before. For some reason.
I've seen a few.
We got the potential next president of the United States, Miss Hillary Clinton, saying the gun culture is way out of balance.
Well, potential vice president and probable president, Rahm Emanuel, also Mossad agent and American traitor, former member of the Israeli military, mayor of Chicago. He is fighting the gun legislation in Chicago that's giving people the right to carry a weapon.
And since that time, the crime rate has gone down. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. And anytime that there's any sort of shooting, you're not hearing about it. You definitely haven't heard about the 44 shot in 48 hours over Easter weekend since then.
Amazing.
The shootings that have happened in Chicago that are reported now are basically their self-defense or
they're
defense
all legit shootings, or most.
I think there's been 2 that have been questionable, but that's from 44 in 48 hours the week before.
Wow.
And Chicago isn't a city with 1,352 people and no stoplight. So,
well, that's pretty neat.
You were talking about Rahm, and this was out, just come out this week that first time I've seen it, but it says U.S. official, extent of Israeli spying is shocking. Can you imagine that? The extent of Israel, who would have ever thought that was happening? Will knock me down with a feather.
I cannot see that.
Did we let
happening.
that spy loose yet, or whatever?
Which one? Oh, Pollard?
Yeah,
Pollard?
were we making a deal or something?
Well, I'm telling you, as soon as Hillary Rahm 2016, who by the way, their campaign slogan is, we'll just put it in once America. As soon as they take the helm, you can bet that Pollard's on the Freedom Bird to Tel Aviv.
God.
Haley might get his own city to run.
But listen, I don't like to jump down the conspiracy hole too much. I mean, like, all our concerns are legit and well founded. I don't really like to, but I can see the writing on the wall in Hillary Rahm 2016. I told you I loved you, America. I'm telling you, I can see that one coming down, and I have serious fears that Hillary ain't long for the world if that happens. And
why would you not vote for a ticket like that? That's a dream ticket right there.
That's a dream ticket, man.
I'm telling you, it's one of those.
Hillary has done more for this country than you can ever imagine.
No,
What does it matter?
He has done more to this country than you can even imagine.
Oh, excuse me, I misstated.
I'm very, very afraid of, if, with the possibility of this is, potential President Clinton taking that fatal head wound, and it's going to be blamed on those right wingers who cling to their Bibles and their personal beliefs and their firearms.
And firearms, there you go. Represent their firearms.
That's right. And people who don't believe that it takes a village to raise the child. I'm sorry you raised your own goddamn kid, because listen, you start letting that crackhead across the street have anything to do with your kid, and your kid becomes a crackhead. All right.
That's right. Exactly.
This goes into a lot of things. Recently there's been a whole lot of talk about, what is it? Anti-racist is code word for white genocide or some crap like that. Listen, I got the answer to white genocide and lowered birth rates for, the extinction of the white race. Make healthy babies.
About Japan and Fukushima or what?
No. I mean, just here in the United States right now, there's this movement by guys who I don't think are really qualified to do this kind of stuff. And I think they have ulterior motives. I think they work for the enemy, to be honest with you. I think they're provocateurs. But you really want the answer to this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make healthy babies. Make a lot of them. Engineer your lifestyle to make healthy babies. That's it. That's how you get more white people. Make healthy babies. Unless somebody else has got like an answer.
I hear what you're saying, but as soon as you have that healthy baby, you better keep it at home and not let anybody know you have it, because as soon as they find out you have one, they're gonna want to fill it full of vaccines to make it an unhealthy baby.
Well, I'll tell you what. Then that's where parents of healthy babies have to stand up and say, no, we do not agree with this, and we will not participate. And by God, if you get enough people who say they won't participate, at some point somebody's going to say, well, Jesus, if I'm not going to participate in this, I won't pay for it. And gentlemen, that may be the answer. That may be the answer before we have to talk about our favorite subject, which is firearms. And by the way, has anybody played with any tannerite?
Yeah, I've got some tannerite.
How have you had the chance to play with any tannerite?
Not around here, there ain't.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
You probably.
I bet it is.
You can't.
I've watched tons of videos on it. It looks like it'd be a ball, man.
Back when gasoline was cheap, used to buy a 5-gallon can of it and set it behind some tannerite and shoot that thing, and it makes a big boom. I love it.
I'll tell you what. I've had a chance to play with it recently and had a chance to purchase it and use it, and it's a little expensive. It's not It costs for a can of it, a 1 pound can that would make 2 half-pound containers of the stuff, costs about $19. It gets cheaper as you buy it in bulk. But I'll tell you what, when the half-pound goes off, it's fairly impressive. When the 1 pound goes off, the report and the effect is about 5 times.
Yeah. Now, one thing that our listeners might not know what tannerite is, Michael, and that is 2 inert substances you mix together. And then, when you hit it with a high-speed bullet, it has to be out of a high-powered rifle that you, hit this tannerite can, it explodes.
I'll tell you what, it's kind of fun. It really is.
It's about like a quarter stick of dynamite or something like that.
Well, it is in its force, but, it appeared to do really not a lot of damage, to the ground. I mean, the container it was in, I found itty bitty tiny chunks smaller than my pinky fingernail, of orange warning label that's all over it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of force to that explosion right there.
No, it's, and from what I actually understand, it's actually an oxygen robbing, explosion. I mean, all explosions, take oxygen and use oxygen, but, this consumes quite a bit more oxygen, I guess, and it prevents some sort of other reaction. I don't really.
That's why we say gasoline behind it, Michael. You get a good effect that way.
Yeah, well, you can't do that in the park with the kids running around on the.
Well, no.
I'll bet that stuff in a house or enclosed would be a whole different story.
Oh, I would believe that would be devastating if you used a 1 pound.
Yeah, me too.
Closed structure.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, you can't shoot it with a pistol and make it go off. You gotta have a high speed, high power
Yeah,
rifle.
we used a
Well, you could
used
shoot
a five-
through the
5.56.
window with a high-powered rifle.
we used a 5.56, and it was just a regular like Lake City, whatever.
Well, that's
Lake,
zipping pretty good, isn't it? That's zipping about 3,000 foot at muzzle, isn't it?
I don't know. We put the initial target about 50, maybe 30 yards away from us. That was a quarter-pound target, and it was pretty impressive. It was really really cool. And then
Just make sure you can hit that little jar there. Put it up close.
well, and that was kind of neat. So we blew up one of those, and then my friend blew up one, and then I got a chance to blow up one, and I'm gonna be happy to tell you I hit it on the first shot.
Wow.
So that's pretty good at 30 yards, whatever. But it wasn't my rifle, and I had fun.
Yeah,
But,
the little swinging 22 target I have, Michael, that it's got 2-inch steel plates on it that'll spin around if you hit it with a 22, basically,
Right.
Well, I moved that thing out to the creek in the backyard, which is 31 yards from the porch. And I hit it 2 out of 3 times today, and I said, I'm quitting, Bridget. That's good enough for me.
You should run out and buy yourself a lottery ticket at that point.
I mean, that was unreal.
What was it?
These
Just
terrible
offhand?
eyes of mine.
That was just offhand?
Yeah. Offhand, just standing on the porch shooting, no brace.
That's pretty good.
Pretty awesome. I couldn't believe I hit 2 out of 3 times, I hit the first time, missed the second, hit the third.
Well,
I got some more stats here that you guys might find interesting when you get a minute.
All right, well, hang on. But I mean, like, you're shooting right there shows something really important. Like practice makes perfect, and practice also comes in safety. And I think it's time for the 4 rules of safety. We got to get them in.
You're absolutely correct, Michael. Let me go over the first couple, and I'll let you handle the second couple. How's that?
All right, that'll work.
The first one, of course, is always treat a firearm as if it's loaded, and everybody should always think about this and clear that firearm yourself. Check and make sure that there's not a bullet in the chamber or in the cylinder if it's a revolver, and always be aware of muzzle direction and where that muzzle is pointed. Keep it pointed in a safe direction. And what are the third and fourth rules, Michael? My favorite ones.
Well, always know what your target is, right? And
Exactly.
know what's behind your target, what's around your target. Well, you got to think what would happen when you miss, because it's like ringing a bell. You can't bring it back. So be aware of your target. And Dan, personally, I think the most important rule of firearm safety is, ladies and gentlemen, please keep your booger hook off the bang switch. I was at a gun show this weekend, and I'll tell you what, 80% of the people that came up to my table, first thing they did, put their finger right on the trigger. That's not safe. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your finger outside of the trigger guard, off the trigger. If you need a place to put your index finger, run it along the side of the frame. I just can't stress enough. Keep your finger off the trigger. There is no negligent discharge, or there is no accidental discharge. It's just all negligence. You have to pull the trigger for it to go off. Keep the booger hook off the bang switch. You're correct.
Now, Hal, you're absolutely correct, Michael, and thank you for that. And Hal, you mentioned something earlier about the Supreme Court and their ruling or something. What was that story?
It was a castle like a castle doctrine thing, like you were talking about. What it was though, instead of, in your house, you can have your weapon. But when you step out your front door and on your property, does that extend to your property too? And the Supreme Court they don't seem to think so. They don't even.
Well, they just declined to rule on it, correct?
That's exactly right.
So what was the previous ruling? Is my question then,
I don't know. If they were,
so once again, our Supreme Court pussy out.
That's what it sounded like to me, Michael. Exactly.
Well, that's typical, isn't it? Isn't that typical?
Well, back to all this, what we've been talking about tonight. All these people that we're talking about that are doing all this stuff to us have all sworn to protect and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And none of them are doing it.
What happened to protect and serve, Hal?
they do it when it's convenient, when it furthers what they want to happen. Then the Constitution is the most important thing in the world. But when it works against them, what their deal is there, they try to explain it away where you don't understand what the Constitution says. And I've always been of the thinking that the Constitution was written a long time ago. And there wasn't 9 million lawyers, and there wasn't that many of them. You know, everything wasn't a vetted shill that's in the government. So it would be easy to understand, not a bunch of legalese that changes the meaning of everything to mean whatever they want it to mean.
I think you have very valid concerns, and I'm really concerned right now. There's a bunch of states calling for constitutional conventions.
Yeah, there are.
And that's when they're going to screw us on the Second Amendment.
Well, then I'll tell you what. Then we've got the power. How you had come up with something earlier that every deer season, the largest army and safest army of fully trained snipers in the world takes to the woods with minimal incidents.
That's it. Almost nothing.
That's why I believe the shit won't hit the fan in this country for a while.
Well, if it hits the fan, it's going to be shit. I can tell you that. Here's something. Here's the statistics I was talking to you about. This says, lastly, here are some nice little gun facts for you liberal wackos. Guns used 2.5 million times a year in self-defense. Law-abiding citizens use guns to defend themselves against criminals as many as 2.5 million times a year, or about 6,850 times a day. This means that each year firearms are used more than 80 times often. Firearms are used more than 80 times more often to protect the lives of honest citizens than to take lives. Of the 2.5 million times citizens use their gun and defend themselves every year, the overwhelming majority merely brandish their firearm or fire a warning shot to scare the attackers off. Less than 8% of the time a citizen will kill or even wound his attacker. As many as 200,000 women use a gun every year to defend themselves against sexual abuse. Every anti-gun Clinton repeated that guns are used 1.5 million times annually for self-defense. According to the Clinton Justice Department, there are as many as 1.5 million cases of self-defense every year. The National Institute of Justice published this figure in 1997 as part of the Guns in America, a study which was authored and noted anti-gun criminologists Philip Cook and Jen Lugwood. I don't know who they are. But American citizens kill more crooks than do the police. Citizens shoot and kill at least twice as many criminals as police do every year, 1,527 to 606. The readers of the Newsweek learned this. Only 2% of the civilian shootings an innocent person mistakenly identified as a criminal. The error rate for the police, however, was 11%, more than 5 times as high. Handguns are the weapons of choice for self-defense. Citizens use handguns to protect themselves over 1.9 million times a year. Many of these self-defense handguns could be labeled as Saturday night specials. So that sounds pretty decent to me.
That's a pretty interesting subject, the Saturday night specials. We've seen recently in Detroit, there's a whole lot of people defending themselves against home invasions. Probably 10 in the last 2 weeks I've seen. And more than one story, they've used a weapon that many people consider to be substandard or crap or a Saturday night special, and that would be the High Point 9mm carbine. And that retails brand new for $279. It's 10 rounds of 9mm. It's utterly functional and it's easy to use. I would say if you're in a budget crunch and you have a little bit of money to buy one, that's a good use of the money.
Yeah, I think so too.
A High Point, huh?
Yep.
They're cheap guns, but they shoot. They shoot, and they would do
the carbine. I've seen nothing but stellar reviews about the carbine. And the fact that I've seen more than a couple stories about the High Point carbine being used for defense, that means that people have a need for value and that the weapon works.
Is that basically a pistol with a stock on it?
I think it's very similar to their pistol design. I'm fairly certain it uses a different magazine than the pistol, though.
Oh, you don't snap the pistol lower onto a
No.
the upper
It's
type
actually
thing?
a gun, huh?
It's actually a separate carbine. I believe the pistol retails for between $190 to $210, maybe $220 brand new, and the carbine usually goes for $280, $279, something like that. You know, maybe $320 or something like that at the most right now, because this is still the rush.
Well, that's got to be the budget gun of the week then. I'll have to go with that one if you're that confident in that high point.
I'll tell you what, I saw people walking around asking $450 for them. So, I mean, that must mean it at least goes bang, because anything that goes bang once is $200.
Okay,
That's
Michael.
the new math, man.
I want to talk briefly about this. We didn't have enough time to get in it heavily, but you sent me a photo of a sign where a guy was not selling firearms to Muslims. Is that correct?
That's right. He said he wouldn't sell firearms to Muslims or Obama voters unless they pledged allegiance to the United States of America, and a little advertisement underneath that said Jesus Akbar. And I want to kind of express my displeasure with that. And I really think that's a small-minded way to think. I don't like.
I think it's ridiculous.
I don't like the guy's politics, and it demonizes a whole entire group of people when
we know who the bad guys really are, so to speak. I mean,
absolutely.
Let's get down to Gaza, and you had a potential customer at your show up that was wearing a particular shirt. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was wearing an Israeli Air Force shirt, and I was not particularly impressed with that. This is the United States, and I want to know what happened to looking out for the little guy. The Israeli Air Force bombs significant population. It's quite honestly, it's the world's largest open air prison. That
that's why I always say, "What about Gaza?"
Dan, I'm standing right.
That's what I mean when I say, "What about Gaza?"
Right there with you. I'm standing right there with you. I mean, if crayons and PVC pipe are viewed as weapons and not allowed into that area, what the hell does America stand for if we're paying for this stuff? So, listen, it could get long and ugly. I'll just cut it down to this. I won't sell to somebody who supports baby killers. That's just not the way I feel about it. And
I agree with you 100%.
And as God is my witness, or the Allah is my witness, or Buddha is my witness, or whatever invisible holy man out there you wish to believe in, I will not ever own an Israeli weapon or Israeli ammunition or anything that's designed in conjunction with Israel, sold by an Israeli company. I'm sorry. That's just not my... Sorry.
I agree.
Ain't doing it.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. But you know what? That glove fits our hand, too.
Absolutely, dude. And I'll tell you what, we're all guilty, because if you're paying AA, we are all terrorists because we are supporting terrorist activities monetarily. So
all over the world.
Taxpayers, we all get a all expenses paid trip to Gitmo. Bring your Bermuda shorts, folks.
We didn't get to it this week, but we got to get to the story of Hal and the police asking him about a call that he supposedly never made, and them showing up.
I know it happened. I've got one friend of mine that's a retired sheriff, and I've known him for 20 years, and he got out because the politics of it. He said, "I ain't playing no more."
Yeah.
So he got out of it.
We got to cut it off right here, Hal. Believe it or not, the hour is gone.
We're at the end.
And that's a shame. We'll save it for next week.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want to thank Jules for UCY TV, the network, and want to give a shout out to Nick and the guys overseas. You guys stay safe and hope you don't get deployed anywhere crazy or anything like that.
My brother, I hope you heal well. Take care of that arm, man. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun.